Goodness. Hello, my name is Jillian Ashley, and I have not made a video before, but I have a lot of opinions, especially about books, and I thought, why not give it a shot? Why not give it a shot? So, today I'm going to be talking to you about Dress Codes by Richard Thompson Ford, which is a book I just finished. So, this is unscripted. I haven't done this before, as I said, and I just wanted to share my thoughts about the books I read, and I feel like I can talk relatively well sometimes, most of the time. Anyway, this book is really interesting. I picked it up because I do creative writing in my free time. I'm not very good at it yet. And by good at it, I mean consistent. This is my fourth attempt to write my own novel. The other three I ended up getting bored of around the 10,000 word mark. I'm currently at the 10,000 word mark with my current one, and I'm not bored with it yet, so here's hoping we get to the finish line with it. Yippee! I'll talk about that more some other time if you want to hear about it. But yes, so I picked up Dress Codes because I wanted to learn more about fashion history in order to inform the world building of my novel. So I picked it up at the bookstore. Obviously, that's where you pick up books. And it's really interesting. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed pretty much all of it. I will say one thing that kind of surprised me about it is that it's organized by topic, not by chronology. And if you've ever read a history book, that's fairly unusual. I will say I do have some other microhistories that I've read, and a lot of them are still in chronological order. Things like, the history of the world in 6 classes, 33 revolutions per minute, which side are you on? Like, Red Moon Rising is a single event sort of deal. I have a history on cryptography. I read Sugar and Power. Like, the point is, like, they're all still chronological. This is very unusual in that it's not. It still makes perfect sense. The way it's laid out still really works, I think, because it's by topic and it has all of these points that he's making, but it is a little bit unusual for a history book to be like this. It reads almost a little bit like a series of interconnected essays that then come together to have a single conclusion at the end rather than a narrative history, which is interesting. He's definitely a talented enough author to pull it off, but if you're someone who doesn't really read that many history books, this one might be a little bit harder to convince yourself that it's just a narrative, which for me at least really helps when I'm trying to get into a history book. If it's still chronological, then it reads a lot more like a narrative, but without a main character. So if that's something that you need to not be have you need to have a narrative through line, then this book is going to be a little hard for you to follow. But if you're willing to read just, any book that's good, this is a good book, and it's very interesting. He really talks a lot about, just the different intricacies of fashion history. So he touches on like a lot of different social issues that are affected by fashion history because fashion is everywhere. We all interact with fashion every single day. I did fashion to do this video because it's currently a book review, and this was actually not my first attempt to talk about this book. I was originally going to do something more like a reading vlog, but I did not bother to put on my makeup before I filmed some of those segments, and when I was doing the editing for the video, I was like, oh, my face looks so bad because, like, my eyes, I look ill. So I'm like, I'm not, but my eyes, like, so I was like, I have to redo this. But obviously, I can't read something for the first time. Like, I can reread things for an additional time, but I can't reread things for the first time. It's just not possible. So that's an example of fashion in practice. So, yeah. And I actually think that putting on the makeup also made me feel a lot more like eloquent, more capable of talking well and being understood. All of the previous clips from my previous attempt were like 3 minutes long maximum, and there was a lot of like filler, me going, you know, I don't really know that I know what I'm talking about, but I put on the makeup and then I'm like, whoa, I know what I'm talking about. I read this whole book. I just finished it, and I think it's good. And that means I'm qualified to tell you that it's pretty good. And it's pretty good. So if you're looking for a resource on fashion history for any reason, this is good. I definitely really liked it. I've looked into fashion history from internet resources sometimes before, and those are pretty helpful. I just prefer books 99% of the time to a website. And I will say the websites that I have found and this book do have a very similar issue in that they're both fairly Eurocentric and not necessarily entirely. This one especially is more Euro-American centric, so it's more West centric than just strictly Eurocentric. The websites do tend to be more Eurocentric though, which I think is really kind of irritating for me personally. Like, what if I wanted to do research about Japan? That's really hard. It's really difficult to do research about things that are not the overarching zeitgeist of a country that doesn't speak the same language as me. It's really difficult. Japan is one that I've been interested in for a while, but also China would be interesting. Or any country really that is in that area, like, but it's really difficult to find resources for that sort of thing that are super what I'm looking for, especially as they like intersect with my interests. Like, I would like to learn about Japanese fashion history and those sorts of things, but most of the resources I can find are very, very generalized online, and it's hard to know what to trust in terms of books. And then things like my library, they don't have any ebooks about Japanese history that take place before World War II, that are about any time period before World War II. It's not great. It's not great. But if that's not something that matters for what you're trying to do research for, then yeah, this book is fantastic. It covers a lot of different topics. It's more about like, it is dress codes, so it's not just about just fashion history, but about like how the laws surrounding fashion are what impacted history a lot. And I think that's really interesting. So it's got some very nice, like, older events, like the way that especially like men's fashion like it started to ensue opulence and turn to elegance. Women's fashion did a little bit as well, but not really until later. And all of these things like that. But then it also has like a lot of more modern things, and including stuff that's happened like since I was born, which is super interesting. I think it's really interesting. If you don't think it's interesting, that's okay. You're allowed to think it's not interesting. Not everything is for everybody. But it is interesting to me, and I'm the one making this video. Therefore, I'm correct. I'm just saying, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, I'm just saying. So, yes, this book is really interesting, and I think it definitely did what I wanted it to. Helped me, interested me, was good. You know, you know, you know, you know, you know. Anyway, so yeah, that's my thoughts about Dress Codes by Richard Thompson Ford. And yeah, I will see y'all around. Hopefully, hopefully, hopefully.